You want to find that drive and focus that has you locked in and on fire every single day? My book, The Mirror Motivation, will do it for you. I bought a copy for you. You take care of the shipping. The book is free. Click the link down there. I got you.
DreAllDay.com.
Dre Baldwin with Dre All Day. WorkOnMyGame.com. That's what I need to start saying. Just thinking about learning, the learning process. And we all learn differently, right? Some of y'all or us will say were terrible at school. Maybe you failed in school, failed classes, flunked out of schools, been kicked out of schools because you just did not produce academically by the way that they measure it at wherever you went to school. Some people are in that category, but then they become successful, however we measure success in life, even though they weren't good at school, even though we're always taught, right? You got to do good at school to be good in life. We know that's not the case anymore, at least in an American educational system. I don't know anywhere else. Some people, on the other hand, were amazing at school. You got great grades, straight A's and honor rolls and all that, whatever you can get when you got really good grades, don't ask me. But then in life, those people don't usually become failures all the time, but they're all right. They're not like amazing. They're not spectacular in life all the time. There are some people who get great grades and they become amazing, and there's some people who fail out of school and they actually become failures. But there are people who do the opposite, right? And then you have the people who are like average, people like myself. I was an average student, and that's not because I was average at learning. I know I'm not average at learning, and I know I'm not average at teaching either. And you got to learn to teach, right? You got to be able to learn to be able to teach. And I am a teacher in life. That's what I do. I educate people. I was average in school because I was an average as far as my academic effort. I just decided at some point that I wasn't going to give a full academic effort because I didn't see a result. I didn't see myself needing to apply myself for that to do what I wanted to do. Once I saw computers and the internet, I knew I wanted to do that. And once I started to become okay in basketball, I knew I wanted to do that. And I knew it wasn't a teacher at any school I could go to that was going to teach me how to do either one of those two things, because the internet was pretty new at that time. I don't know what they do now. Those of y'all who are in school, college, high school, whatever, do they have classes about social media or anything online? In our day, we had computer lab, like computer class, but it was like the Apple computers with the green screens, and they wasn't teaching us anything about what we do now. Or there wasn't anybody who was qualified to teach it. Nobody knew. There was nothing to teach. We were all learning. But anyway, the point that I'm making here is when it comes to learning, we all learn in different ways. Everybody does not learn in the same way. And for me, the way that I learn best, I think, in life, I think I could learn anyway. Any method that you forced me to learn, I could learn. I remember once in high school, I was taking a chemistry class, and I was failing the class after like 3 quarters. We have 4 report cards. So after the 3rd report card, I was failing the class, and the chemistry teacher told my mom, like, yo, he's probably going to fail the class, and you're going to have to either take it again next year or go to summer school or something like that. So my mom, she's actually a teacher herself. Maybe that's where I get it from. She was like, all right, she didn't want me to fail the class because she didn't want me to have to repeat it, she didn't want me to have to go to summer school because summer school costs money. And I ain't have no money, so she would have had to pay for it. So she was incentivized to make sure I did not fail this class and had to go to summer school. So I had a test coming up. So she started actually going over the material with me every day. So every day we'd be studying the material. My mom would go over the material, and she's a teacher, so she thinks how a teacher thinks. So she knew, I don't know how she knew, I need to ask her this, but she knew what the teacher would put on the test just by looking at the textbook. She would look at the textbook, see the kind of material that was in there, and she was like, all right, these are the things you need to understand. You need to know how to do this. And she basically taught me how to study so that I'd be as ready as possible for this next test. And mind you, I was failing the class. 3 quarters of the school year, I had an F average, right? The very next test, after my mom started like forcing herself to work with me on this material, I got like a 97 on the next test. And everybody in the class was like, oh shit. I was like, oh shit. Because I was like, not really once I took the test, because I knew the material like front and back. I finished the test in like 5 minutes. Everybody else took the whole period. You know how you have a test in the class and you don't know none of the material? You just sitting there acting like you're calculating, but you don't know shit. I did that all year. But then this one test, I finished that shit in 5 minutes because I knew all the material so easily. The sad ending to that story is that the teacher still gave me an F because she was a lying bitch. But anyway, that's a different story. When it came to learning, I could learn that way, and that's the hard way of learning. I think for most of us, that's the hardest way of learning, which is what? take some material and read it over and over again, have it forced into your head over and over again, memorize it to make sure that you pass the test. Basically the way that we had to learn in school, right? You get the textbook and you gotta know this material and this, and all this shit's gonna be on the test, and you're sitting there trying to cram this shit into your brain, hoping that you can memorize it and remember it for long enough just so you can pass the test. And for some people are really good at this. Like my sister, for example, was great at this. She became an academic superstar. I was okay at it if I wanted to be, but I didn't really want to be. So I wasn't very good at it. Another way of learning, though, is the way that I like to learn, and that's what I call downloading. Downloading information, downloading what other people know, downloading other people's expertise and knowledge and skills. And the way to download, or the way that I like to download, is basically I find a piece of information that I'm interested in, something that I want to learn, something that I want to get better at, and I just consume that shit over and over and over and over again until I know it like the back of my hand, until I'm almost repeating the line. I'm almost saying the shit over and over again. So I'm finishing the sentences. I heard Zig Ziglar, who's a famous motivational and sales speaker. Some of you may have heard of Zig. He said he used to make these tapes, these motivational tapes. What we now have as podcasts and online courses, back then were cassette tapes. So Zig used to make these tapes, but he would make his tapes off a live presentation. He would do a live event, he would just record it, and then he would sell the tapes. And he said to people at the beginning of it, he was like, look, you need to listen to these tapes over and over again until you know the story before I even tell it. Till you could tell my story without even hearing it from me, because you heard it so many times and you basically learned it, you downloaded it, you memorized it, but not because you were trying to memorize it, just because you listened to it over and over again. So that's the way that I like to learn. The way that you can do that is very simple. All you got to do is find some material that you mess with, some material that you like, some material that actually helps you learn, and you just got to keep consuming it over and over again. And that's why I put out my content, because this is the way I like to learn. I put out my content every day. I put out a podcast every day. I put a video out every day. Do a written something every day. I do Instagram stories every day. Now that serves several purposes. One is that I get more clear on my own message. I get better at delivering my message, and I find out what works and what doesn't. It's like 3 different things I told you that it does. It can help build your brand because you're expanding your footprint online, more content with your name on it. So you're establishing your expertise or whatever you're trying to establish in what you're talking about. And it helps whoever is a consumer, whether that's one person, 10 people, 1,000, 1,000,000, who want to mess with your stuff. They get to take it in all the time. They come to know you. It's like people feel like they know you because they're taking in your stuff every single day. I've had many people say that to me. I feel like I know you even though we never met, because I'm taking in your stuff all the time. And that's the process of downloading. Like right now, I've been studying a whole lot of certain topics, certain areas of business, and I'm starting to think the way that these people think, whoever the teachers are, or whether they got audio, video, written material. I'm taking it in every single day, all the time, taking in more and more of it. Even when I'm doing something else, I'm passively listening to it, or I'll spend some time reading it, or I'll watch it and I'll just listen to the video, not even look at what they're saying, just listen to them. And I'm starting to download that information to the point that I'm thinking the way that they think. I'm starting to think, my mind is starting to think using their phrases and their words. This is what happens when you're taking in something over and over and over again. And you want to see an example of this. Any of you who listen to rap music and you listen to it a lot, you probably find yourself thinking in your words, the actual words that you think and the words that you speak are coming from what you're hearing in that music. And I listen to a ton of rap music. I've been listening to rap music my whole life, grew up with it. I think sometimes in rap music, like sometimes my girl will say something and she'll mention a word, and then I'll say some line from a song that uses that same word. She's like, how do you even be remembering that stuff? I don't remember it. It's just downloaded into my brain. It's like ingrained in me because I've listened to it so many times. That's the same way that you can learn anything. So if you feel like the school way of learning, which is like forcing yourself to memorize some shit that you ain't not even interested in, maybe that's not the best way for you to learn. Actually, you probably already know that. A different way is to start downloading that information, meaning finding something that you actually like, something that you're engaged with, and just keep taking that information in over and over and over and over and over again until you could almost teach the class yourself. Until the same way you could say a song, a Drake song or a fill-in-blank rapper song right now, word for word, without even playing the music. You can get that same way with any kind of knowledge or information. You just got to be willing to listen to it over and over again the same way you do that music. Hopefully that helps somebody.